Hello everyone, this is Quasar Knight, and I am doing something different rather than the usual Shadows of Loathing. This is Solasta, Crown of the Magister. It is a pretty interesting game that has been in development for a few years. One thing I would like to say for those who do not know is it's similar to Baldur's Gate in that it's basically a video game based off of the Dungeons & Dragons rule set. However, unlike Baldur's Gate, it is more of a fan project and unofficial. So, you might be wondering how they were able to do that given D&D is intellectual property and all. Well, Dungeons & Dragons later editions have something known as the OGL, or Open Gaming License, where certain material is more free in terms of intellectual property for other people to use. Traditionally, this has been made so people can make their own third-party tabletop gaming sourcebook contents, but someone decided, hey, why don't I do a video game? And they did just that. I think this game has been made since 2019 or 2020, and even though it has a complete main campaign, it's still updating with like versions and DLC, which you can see up here. Now, the game is actually pretty customizable. Not only does it have modding content, which several people have used to make their own games, and even adaptations of famous D&D adventures like the Temple of Elemental Evil, you can also create your own personal characters, which I'm going to be using because I prefer making my own rather than using pre-gens. I wanted to make some changes to one character before playing. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah. Okay, looks like once you make a character, you can't really change them all around, but that's fine. So just for fun, I want to show you what it's like in making a character for this game. You pretty much have, including the DLC, all the typical standard races. You have your humans, elves, dwarves, you also have half-orcs, halflings, and even dragonborn, which are the newest race. Now, you may notice there are some bars denoting lineages. That's basically a sub-race, because not all dwarves are the same. There are hill dwarves, there are snow dwarves. For halflings, there's marsh halflings and island halflings. To explain some of the differences, every race has their own special abilities and ability score increases along with magic. Some people may notice that some of these aren't sub-races in standard official 5th edition, like for example, marsh halflings and island halflings are their own creations, because the halfling sub-races I don't think are open gaming. Now, marsh halflings are interesting in that they're normally, all of these races, except for humans and halflings, have dark vision, meaning they're able to see better in the dark. Well, one of the halfling sub-races now has dark vision, so technically every race besides human has dark vision. Now, the different races are prioritized for different things. Dwarves have Constitution, which are pretty much useful for just about any character, and they either gain a bonus to their Dexterity or their Wisdom. Snow Dwarves are a bit odd in that they don't really feel very dwarfy. They use crossbows to get a Dex bonus increase, and they're known to live in like snowy northern areas. Let's for fun, let's just do a standard human, just to show things off. Or let's see if any of them gain a bonus to charisma. Okay, island halfling. Let's make one right now, and we're going to be interesting and do the warlock, because the Warlock is one of the newer classes, both in terms of Dungeons & Dragons, and also in being a new class for Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Are any of these things which can be finessable? I don't think so. character is valid. Now, every class has something known as subclasses, which further customize the class. So you're not just a warlock, you're a warlock with a overworldly patron. You're not just a cleric, you have a certain deity and domain of influence, and so on. Now, the Fiend Pact Warlock is your stereotypical warlock made a pact with a dark power for magic. The Hive is basically insects known as Redeemers that were once weapons for an empire and became self-willed. Then there's the Timekeeper, where you basically are people in charge of manipulating the flow of time. And then there's the Tree, which is basically a big magical tree that is like associated with the forest. The different overworldly patrons give you different kinds of bonus spells. Since our warlock's pretty fragile, we probably want to have some sort of anti-melee thing, which we're going to use here. Now, backgrounds are different things. Not only do they give you bonus skill and tool proficiencies along with equipment, they are also keyed to various optional side quests reflecting on your character's backstory. These info bars say it's not associated with any specific quest line in the main campaign, so if you're really into, like, exploring stuff in the main campaign, you definitely want to do the ones that are default and don't have the little eye things next to them. You may also notice an nerfing with personality flags. Crown of the Magister does away with the concept of alignment, for better and for worse. Instead, you have certain personality types which determine how your character reacts in various social situations. Let's do pragmatic lawfulness. Pragmatism and caution. So overall, even though it says good, law, evil, and chaos, they don't actually determine your character's moral outlooks or what things they're do. Like, if you want to, like, choose whether or not to steal something, that's entirely up to you. The personality flags have no bearing on whether or not you can do certain actions. Alright, and you can also do a standard array where you do points where it makes them all preset. You can also do point buy where you add up things to rolls, but I always like the die rolls, so let's re-roll the die and see what we got. Alright, 15, 14, 12's above average in everything but 7. Well, since charisma is pretty important, let's get a 16 there, a 16 there, and now we have nothing but 12s and a 7. So the question is, what do we want to neglect? Well, strength really determines both carrying capacity and melee damage, so we're going to do that. And given that we're at a warlock halfling, it's not going to be all that important. Constitution determines hit points and is pretty much useful for just about everyone. Intelligence is sort of the dump stat in 5th edition, as it really only affects your skills and your spells if you're a wizard, which is, I think, the only intelligence-based spellcasting class in this game. So, if your character doesn't really do book smarts, you can definitely afford to dump intelligence. Now, we already have some things we're proficient. Saving throws determine your resistance, which you're rolled. Like, for example, to resist poison, you would roll a Constitution save. To avoid being mind-controlled, you'd roll a Wisdom save. Each class is proficient in 2 saving throws in the case of a Warlock, Wisdom, and Charisma. So for skills have a total modifier based on your ability scores. Athletics is -2 because it's based on strength, meaning our character is going to really suck hard when going around. And then there's the dexterity ones. Like the backgrounds, they do mention that certain skills are not used at all in the main campaign, but they are used in the Lost Valley DNC, which is the other campaign. For this, I definitely feel like we definitely want to lean in heavily on making ourselves even better at social skills as a warlock. And we are probably going to want to... Let's do Dwarvish. Ultimarin is one of the homebrew things, as in it's for a civilization that does not exist in your typical D&D world, but it does exist in Solasta, Crown of the Magister, so let's do that. Now we choose our spells if we're spellcaster. Cantrips are basically minor magic that you can cast an infinite number of times. Eldritch Blast, I think, is the most useful warlock spell. Not only does it have a very long range, it also deals force damage, which is one of the most useful damage types. Nothing is immune or resistant to it, besides like one or two obscure monsters, but nothing is weak to it either, so it's always something you can have in case you don't want to do anything else. Then there's other ones like Shadow Dagger, which does psychic damage, which, as you can imagine, is like mental damage. Certain mindless creatures like constructs may be resistant or even immune to it. Then there are ones that don't really do direct damage, like Shadow Armor. It gives you temporary hit points, and temporary hit points aren't really healing so much as they're a bank of hit points that are subtracted from first whenever you get damaged. They do not stack with each other, meaning if you cast a spell that gives you 5 and then you cast a spell that gives you 8, you do not gain 13 temporary hit points, you just replace the 5 with the 8, whichever is better. Then there is Sparkle, which basically lights up various objects. Now, as you can imagine, lighting is a very important factor given Dungeons & Dragons popularized the dungeon crawling aspect of RPG games. If you are unable to see, you suffer various penalties for finding things as well as in combat, unless you have dark vision, which helps you see better. However, lighting things up is useful even if you do have dark vision, because even if you are in total darkness, that's treated as dim light, so you still have penalties on things, but if you're able to light stuff up, that is useful. So we're going to pick Sparkle. Now we have first level spells. Spells in this game are ranked on general levels of power 1 through 9, but they do not map evenly to your character level. You do not, for example, second level spells are not learned at second level, but when you get third level and higher, which is a bit weird. So these various spells are good, like Charm Person makes people like you, Fog Cloud provides a fog which makes it hard for people to see. But for these, we're going to choose Entangle, which is always a useful spell, particularly for enemies that rely on melee, so you can just hit them from afar with ranged attacks. Hellish Rebuke can be cast as a reaction, and reactions are things that can automatically trigger when someone else, usually an enemy, does an action. So reaction-based things occur outside of your turn. I sort of feel between Entangle and Hellish Rebuke, along with Eldritch Blast, we definitely want our Warlock to be more long-ranged. And then there's like various aspects of the character we can make, from skin tone, body decoration. Do we want anything? I'm just going to keep it simple for people. Okay, like phase 6. This is something they definitely need to improve on. The hair still clips into character models, which I don't like. We can do backstory, but that's just like doing fun stuff for your own character. Alright. Let's do a new adventure, and let's just do the main campaign. There are several different difficulties. Story mode is people who focus on the story. Explorer is basically the easy mode for people who are unfamiliar. Authentic mode means it's just normal mode. Scavenger and Cataclysm are like hard and very hard. I've played plenty of 5th edition D&D, so we're going to go with Authentic mode. Iron Man mode basically prevents you from auto-saving or saving in multiple slots. Well, I think you can auto-save, you just can only save once. Then there's skip intro. I may just show off the intro. I may just show off the intro just for fun. Must always assign all characters before you can proceed. So, let's do that right now. Okay, we will do our warlock. Let's sort by class because we want a rather even assortment if we can. We're going to do a dwarf barbarian to be our close big bruiser in comparison to the warlock being long ranged. We are going to want to... One moment. We're going to be a battle cleric, both so can heal and also as sort of like a backup fighter. So we already have 2 spellcasters and a barbarian. Let's try and get someone who is more focused on skills if we can. Either a ranger or a rogue. We already have a halfling, so we don't want to, and we also already have an elf, so we don't want to load up too heavily. If I'm remembering correctly, our paladin's spy was sort of roguish in a way. But I don't want to end up getting a party that is way too heavily or melee focused. Okay, so warlock, barbarian, cleric, rogue. 2 halflings, but that's fine. I think we can do that. Besides, it's fun to be different for a change of pace. The brightness is just fine for me. So yeah, Solasta is definitely an interesting game. It's a bit of an underappreciated gem because I didn't hear about it until like last year. It hasn't really had all that much advertising for it, but it does have a very dedicated fan base.
Before the Cataclysm, there were no gods on Solasta. No humans either. Then, the rift opened. Some say it was a magical accident, or the work of an evil god. No one knows for sure. The Cataclysm destroyed the old High Elf Empire. Manicalan, they called it, and twisted the land beyond recognition. Now, only the brave and the foolish go there, in search of ancient treasures. But something is happening deep in those badlands. Whatever it is, it can't be good.
So yeah, we already have a backstory, a concept for people to go on adventures and looking for dungeons and ruins to gain treasures in. And looks like we're introduced to our characters.
Not that I'm complaining.
But there's only 3 I see. Oh, here's our 4th one.
Is this the place
All
for
the
the
characters are
Council
fully
job?
voice acted and are dependent on their gender and personality.
Ran into a bit of trouble on the way here. Take a load off. There's plenty of donkey piss to go around.
You're not too late, friend. We're all here for the same reason.
Snort.
Grab a chair.
I'm pretty sure that was a randomly generated name, but I stuck with it.
4 of your finest flagons of donkey piss, please.
Looks like you've been waiting here a while. We do what we have to. So what's this trouble you were telling us about? Well, I was making my way here when 3 bandits leapt from the bushes.
So this tutorial has all your individual party
and
members
me in a filthy cell that smelled of rat piss.
talking about how they came to be here. And that's how they teach you about the game. They try to map the specific tutorials based on your class and proficiencies, what your character is good at. The first one is basically, oh, you're basically in jail and need to escape to prison. And for those who played Baldur's Gate, it is very much point and click in that way. To select a whole party, use to select all button at the bottom of the portrait display. You can right click to drag and rotate. So, is there anything we want to look for? Right now, we don't really have inventory just to close on our backs, so we can't do much. We also need a holy symbol in order to cast our spells as a cleric. However, in being a battle cleric, we are very physically proficient, which is good. So, I'm very much a backup fighter in that way. One thing I will say that people, especially clerics and more martial characters, may want to know is, in this game, many spells require components, meaning verbal, you need to be able to speak to cast, somatic, you need at least one hand free. Clerics are proficient with shields, which require one hand to use, and you also need to have one hand free to have a torch. So in many cases, if you have both hands occupied, you cannot cast a spell, which many people when playing were like, oh, I'm going to be a cool sword and ward cleric, but no, they can't they need one hand free, much like in Skyrim, in order to cast a spell. The battle cleric is interesting in that you can cast spells even if you have your hands full, so I think it makes it very useful. We of course have our typical quest log, which basically compiles all the useful stuff for us. So far we seem fine. Alright. You can also examine your surroundings by holding down tab. It highlights certain things. We're going to examine this object, which we can crawl through. Is there... Right. Or rather, hold down Alt, which can also examine stuff. Alright.
Light is with us.
We automatically equipped our torch, which is our life source. As you can see, we have configurations which you can swap out once per turn in battle. You have your primary stuff, your secondary stuff, and your light source. Different light sources have different durations. Unfortunately, they last very, very long. If you see in the lower right-hand corner, basically 1 second is 1 minute, and torches and stuff have like a duration measured in hours, so we have plenty of time. I think it's really only candles that have like a 10-minute duration or 1 hour, so there's that. Now, difficulty class, or DC for short, is one of the universal conflict resolution mechanics. And what that means is, in D&D you roll a 20-sided die, and you add certain bonuses or penalties. You compare the total result against the DC. If you equal or exceed the DC, you are considered to have succeeded. Whereas you fail if you are considered to get under, obviously. Now there's another thing they do with the athletics skill. It determines how far you can jump or climb. You never really, besides traps, ever fail a jump. However, if you have a very low athletics, you can not hurt yourself, but you end up prone, which basically makes you more vulnerable in combat. Okay, we have a healing potion, so we are going to loot that. We're going to go back here. Okay, wow, this is a pretty high DC. Fortunately, we're not in combat, so that stuff doesn't really matter. There's another thing we can push down, and let's go over ahead. Won't really matter, but let's push this block so we can get a shortcut. Now there are some bandits here. You can hold Alt for more info. The more times you encounter a certain type of enemy, the more knowledge you gain of them. And once you fill out the knowledge, it lists their various game stats. AC stands for armor class, which is like DC, but how much you need to hit. HP is obviously hit points. Move says how much they can move. Challenge is basically like an enemy's level. It says overall how tough they are. There are certain environmental obstacles which can hurt, traps especially, that can hurt or even kill characters, and that's basically how we got rid of the bandits. We basically learn about items, how some can be combined together, carrying capacity.
Light will guide us.
Now it appears that the bandits, we cannot loot their corpses. I guess they're just buried under all these tons of rubble. And we're out.
Nice move. That trick with the wall. Glad you're no worse for wear.
My flagon is empty of ale and Lord Karen still isn't here. Have another ale. It's not like you have anywhere better to be.
I have a tale to tell as well. I too was attacked, but I put an end to my enemies with blood and pain.
Okay, this is the combat
Let's hear it
tutorial.
then. Don't be shy.
It usually defaults to your barbarian fighter or other highly martial class. Basically on a ravine, and we roll initiative. I think the dice are sort of loaded in this tutorial, so you always go first. Moving to a point in the yellow area, use your main action to dash. Dash is basically double moving. Oh. So... what exact... I remember having difficulty because I thought it wanted me to do a specific thing, but it looks like it just wants us to dash. So we'll do just that. And we can also enter a rage as a barbarian. It basically grants a bonus to your melee damage and resistance to various physical types. Resistance means you have the damage against you. So let's just do that right now. And end our turn. So the wolves are going to try moving up to us. Even with advantage against me, it missed. So rage basically makes you easier to hit, but you take less damage. Now we're going to learn how to attack enemies. In addition to just attacking, you can shove an enemy. What this basically means is you basically push an enemy up to one or more squares away. And this is important because if you push an enemy, like, off this bridge, say, you can knock them into the pit. So let's push away this wolf. Like so. In some cases, it can pretty much be an insta-death. Okay, they're really doing badly. I wonder if it's due to tutorial. Clicking dodge uses your main action. Dodge basically makes you harder to hit. Enemies have disadvantage on their rolls, and you have advantage on dexterity saves. And dexterity saves are basically like advantage. So you can see there's a bunch of other things we can do. Disengage, you basically move, but it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Opportunity attacks are free attacks an enemy can take if you do a certain risky action, like moving through their square out of their reach. I think we're probably going to just try and attack.
You didn't get me.
And with our high strength and our high damage with a great axe, we did an awful lot of damage. No, wait. I want to attack.
Whoa! You lose.
Alright, that was easy enough. Got some experience points for that, so let's just go up here. We've got to uh-oh. To avoid an opportunity attack, you can use the disengage action. It uses your main action, so you can't attack or dash. Although there are exceptions naturally. So we can't do anything besides that. And we're going to go up here. And we've taken care of that wolf. Pretty straightforward tutorial.
What a bunch of namby-pambies. You're lucky you weren't attacked by Sorax.
That's right, mate. It's always good to be lucky.
The Badlands are thick with them, shape-shifting bastards.
Go easy on him. He's just a harmless old drunk. Probably saw lizard folk or dragonborn or something.
You think I don't know the difference? All those spines on their backs, those jaws. You've never seen anything like it. Not lizard folk, not troglodyte.
Those are all
not
different types
dragonborn,
of
I'm
lizard-like
telling you.
monsters.
No one believes in Sorax anymore.
Sorax aren't
Except
in
the Church of
default
Einar, of
D&D.
course.
They're an original
There's a Sorak under
creation
every
of
bed,
the
if you believe them.
Solasta game.
Easy now. Don't mock people for their faith.
Read them books. Sorax are masters of deception, infiltration. Anyone here could be a Sorak. You'd never know.
Oh, come on.
Huh, you'll see.
So anyway, Sorax might be legend, but orcs are quite real, and not just in the Badlands. I stumbled across a secret settlement right here in the Principality.
Bullshit.
High in the hills, 2 days west of here. I left the main road to find a shorter way through. And I was making good time when I dropped through a sodding sinkhole into a cave. Oh! I must have fallen on my wrong side.
If I remember, this either teaches about stealth or dungeon exploration. Lighting and light sources. You can equip torches or cast spells that generate light to provide things. So, let's equip the light source. We can also light certain lights. Warlock spells. They have a specific way of casting spells using a unique pool of spell slots. All you need to know is sorcerers can cast less spells overall, but they regain the spells faster during rest. Okay. Looks like we do not have any light-based spells, so let's cancel that. Let's just light the other one.
We bring light in darkness.
And let's examine this big pole thing. Right?
Orcs! Clearly I'm being punished for leaving the road. Now to seek redemption.
The history skill is interesting both in this game and default D&D, in that it's not just history, but sort of like knowing various things about society and culture. It's one of the more oddly named skills. Healing. If we can cast healing spells, we probably want to do that. You may notice that we're actually pretty damaged. We only have 3 out of 12 hit points. That is not exactly good. And since we're a warlock, we do not have healing magic. Okay. Since we looted everything, let's go into our inventory. We can right-click, let's drink a potion, and we are now at 10 out of 12 HP. Let's see if there's any other useful material we can have. Okay, we have daggers. We do not have... Okay. Here is our arrow inventory, so now we have a legitimate arrow use. However, as we have Eldritch Blast as a spell, we almost never need to rely on regular ranged weapons in combat. There are some cases where you can actually lose your ability to cast magic, even cantrips, like an anti-magic field. Although such spells are so rare and often high level, you can pretty much coast on by using spells as your main attack as a warlock, so it's not really something to worry about. Okay, I think this also teaches us about our stealth tutorial. Cautious mode. It makes you slower, but you're more easily able to see hidden objects and traps, and enemies won't automatically trigger if you get too close. If you remain 3 cells above the enemy, you should be able to bypass them. Let's go up here and Let's equip our daggers, because we don't want our bright light to... Okay, that's good. Man, I thought it would automatically trigger. Nope. Shows how much I know. It's been a while since I played this game, so... Cautious mode is good for another reason, because in this game, stealth and ambushes are important. And if you manage to get a surprise on an enemy, if I recall correctly, you get 1 free round worth of actions. I don't think that's the case in default Dungeons & Dragons, but in this game, it is very useful because even 1 round, free round, can make a massive difference in combat. Pretty much every edition of D&D, going first really makes a difference. More so than like in a lot of other RPGs, where it may just be tip or thing. And you may notice this thing emanating out from you. If I recall correctly, it doesn't emanate as much if you have a better stealth skill or if you have like advantage on it. If you're sneaking around in heavy armor, it'll be a much larger range. So let's unequip our torch. I don't think torches matter for whether or not the orcs can see. The orcs have not detected us yet. Let's go up here. Okay, I spot 4 of them. 1 down there. Knowledge 1 out of 4. Orcs in 5th edition are actually really strong. Technically speaking, they're still beginner level enemies, but they're strong in the sense that they have a lot of hit points and can do a lot of damage that can one-shot a first level character. Usually for beginning level characters, kobolds or goblins often serve as the better thing. In prior editions, orcs were still stronger than kobolds or goblins, but not by a lot. But in 5th edition, they really ramped up the whole brutish melee warrior aspect. We don't need to be in cautious mode anymore. We're sufficient ways away. Oh, that's funny. It didn't roll, but we still got to O for the for having a low athletics score. If you do not have characters who have high strength or are proficient in athletics, expect to hear that a lot. Okay, looks like there's something here. Abyss moss. I think that's an herbal ingredient. There are things in D&D known as tools, which allow you to build or work on certain things. Like an herbalism kit can allow you to brew herbs, a scroll kit can allow you to make magic scrolls, blacksmith allows you to make weapons and armor. All of these have special ingredients, and usually more powerful stuff requires rare ingredients, obviously.
Worse. It looks like this is the only way out. I just need to be patient. They can't stay there forever.
I think it was a good idea for me to stream this game. Not only is this a game I enjoy, I know an awful lot about Dungeons & Dragons. So I pretty much always have some interesting commentary. Now, in this game, resting, like in many other RPGs, can basically restore your health and magic. They're split up into 2 types of rest. A short rest basically takes an hour, and you basically can spend something known as hit dice to recover hit points. Hold on. One moment. I need to check something. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. A long rest is basically more like a typical end stay at your RPG. It heals everything. We are not hurt at all, so we do not have to spend hit dice to heal. Hit dice are a bit oddly named. They not only determine your HP, they can also quote-unquote be spent when you're doing short rests to heal. Dungeons & Dragons does not differentiate between both terms of hit dice, which can lead to confusion. I know there was one product which renamed it recovery dice for when you're spending them to heal, and technically they're not spent. It doesn't actually reduce your maximum hit points. Let me see, we just consumed a torch. Do we have any more torches? Yes, we do. So we're going to use that as our light source.
I would have slaughtered every one of those green-skinned monsters.
Orcs have a very distinctive stink.
We should
course you
bill
are,
the
you're a
council
dwarf.
for all this wasted time.
We've all told a tale of our travels here. All but one of us.
Yeah, but I have good reason for that. It's none of your bloody business.
Come on now. Don't be a killjoy. We all sang for our supper. Now it's your turn.
Fine. You want to know the truth? I stopped on the way here to visit an old friend of mine.
This is the rogue
and
thief
discovered he was
tutorial.
up to his eyeballs in debt with a loan shark.
Oh, that's not good.
Indeed. He put up a family heirloom as collateral and wanted me to reacquire it. Because, you see, I can be quite stealthy when necessary.
This tutorial triggers for anyone who is proficient in thieves' tools, not necessarily the rogue class, because, you know, there are like 12 different classes in this game. You can't make unique tutorials for each of them. Well, maybe you can. We are going to go into cautious mode, and this one involves talking about stealth. Enemies can hear you if they cross your noise circle. They also have a little thing above them to indicate they may be more suspicious than normal. Oh, there's also it also reveals to stuff. We see human tracks, probably bandits. They look quite fresh. Well, it can't be us, because, well, we're human-sized, or we're halfling-sized. Okay, we already know about camera controls.
Ah, Liam. Always thoughtful.
I think we already have these tools. Yes, we do. We actually have 3. That's a bit excessive. We also have manuals for how to craft poison. Once you read a manual, it automatically teaches you how to do it, so we may as well. Once again, we have 2 for some reason. Can we craft anything? Well, we don't have enough materials, and there are 5 different types of crafting things. Herbalism Kit allows you to do various potions, and it also lists the proficiencies you may need. Smith Tools allow you to craft stuff like bows, arrows, and weapons and armor. Actually, I think the Maghallan Rosary is the one that does things that aren't ranged things. Oh yeah, if I recall correctly, this is the one that allows you to craft various magic arms and armor. It is a very useful thing to be proficient in. Poison, we already went. Scrolls, magic scrolls. Scrolls, in addition to being things that can be copied into Wizard's spellbook, are also can cast spells, even if ones you may not know, but they can only be cast once, and then the scroll is consumed. They're sort of like potions in that way, but unlike potions, which can be used by anyone, scrolls can only be used by someone who's like magically proficient. Right. Okay, that person is up there, not like right next to us. We have a guard. we're going to keep going. And lockpicking requires thieves' tools. Technically, we do not need to be proficient to do it, but it makes things better. If you select your whole party, the person who has the best results will perform the task. And since this is a tutorial, the dice is rigged to allow us to succeed. There is a certain spell called Knock, which basically when you cast it allows you to auto-succeed on the check. But since spells are limited use, they're the kind of things you want to use tactically or tactfully. Okay, we see a bandit quartermaster. Let's actually loop around here. Because, yeah, there are 2 of them. No, we cannot open that. And these things here indicate cover. If it's a full shield, that's like full cover, meaning your character cannot be seen on the other side. Sometimes a half shield, if I recall, means like half cover. And cover can give you bonuses to your armor class versus ranged spells. It doesn't really work for melee because, you know, melee is right up in your face, but positioning and your environment are very important choices in Solasta and in Dungeons & Dragons. Technically speaking, there are some people who play D&D saying, oh, we're feeder of a mine, we don't use the map, and while technically that's possible, so many aspects of the game, including spells like area of effect, are important for knowing, along with cover, that using some kind of visual stimulation helps. If to disarm a trap, okay. This is definitely Wide Rogue's tutorial. Once again, much like lockpicking, thieves' tools can be used for detecting and disarming a trap. Some traps cannot be disarmed and thus only triggered. Let's try to disable it. We succeeded. You might be wondering how I have such an amazing modifier. Well, as a rogue, they have something called expertise, and expertise allows them to add double their proficiency bonus on top of their ability scores. So not only do I have a 18 dex, which is a +4 modifier, my proficiency bonus is normally +2, but instead it'll be +4, so I have a mighty +8 to stealth and a +8 to thieves' tools. Right? Yeah. I mean, once again, let's try and disarm this trap. Alright, we got a quest item as an heirloom, which is a nice gem, and some gold to go with it. The other chest we cannot interact with, it has nothing in. That's why it has that X mark nearby. Uh-oh. Looks like this is going to be another combat encounter. Has quite a bit of HP. Let's try and see if we can, Nope, it automatically triggers the cutscene.
Crook! You? What? You're drunk. Get out of here before I kill you.
Think you scare me? Not anymore.
A grave mistake.
Liam, what are you doing here? I told you I'd take care of it.
Critical characters are basically like NPC party members that join you for a time, but they need to be kept alive for the purposes of the story. It's pretty inconvenient because they can't always be healed like a normal PC if they drop to 0 hit points. Well, if anyone drops 0 hit points who is an ally character, they don't automatically die. They basically drop unconscious and have to roll something known as death saving throws. They can be healed or stabilized during that time. However, NPC party members cannot be stabilized. They can only be recovered via magic, which makes that very inconvenient. Characters who are at 0 hit point but stabilized are not at risk of dying, and after the battle, they basically wake up with 1 hit point. Now that's an interesting thing people noted for 5th edition, in that In prior editions, usually when you drop to 0 hit point, that usually meant instant death. In 3rd edition, you were only instant death at negative 10 HP, and at 0 hit points, you were unconscious. In 5th edition, you become unconscious at 0 HP, and you have to roll death saving throws. If you roll 3 successful saves, you are considered to have been stabilized. If you roll 3, you kind of die. You basically die. So not only is it easier to technically stay alive in 5th edition, there are certain things like ranged healing spells and others that help. We are stealthy, which gives us advantage. We are also having higher ground. And since we're a rogue, if we have advantage on attack... Oh wow, not only are we critical, we also one-shotted him. That's great.
Are you four here to see Lord Karen?
We know it's you, because of your subtitles.
Depends on who's asking.
Well, if you're here for Lord Karen of the Legacy Council, that would be me.
So, you're not a mythical creature after all.
Unlike, say, a sober adventurer?
I love that line.
Can you tell us more about the job?
Well, I suppose it's better if you know what you're doing. What do you want to know?
We can now ask him about stuff, so let's ask about the
We
links.
hear this is a mission for the council, but what is it exactly?
Dear Moraike, you don't know? I'll try to make it simple.
If you noticed,
You know,
when the dwarf was speaking,
politics.
his
The
lips
council
didn't really line
includes
up with the
representatives of
beard.
the most powerful and influential organizations.
They
in
really
the
need to
Eastern
work on the
Kingdoms.
hair in this
It was
game.
created to lead a joint effort to explore the Badlands.
What are the organizations you mentioned?
The council is, how to put it, a non-governmental organization, meaning that state governments are not represented to avoid partisanship. Instead, there are delegates from the Guild of Antiquarians, the Tower of Knowledge, the Arcaneum, and the Circle of Denantar. And the Church of Einar guarantees fairness, led by Marshal Beric Sunblaze and Oathkeeper Lyra Keen.
What are the Badlands, really?
Simply put, they are a monster-ridden, chaotic wasteland that used to be the elven empire called Maniculum. It was destroyed about 1,000 years ago by the Great Cataclysm. Now, only ruins remain, full of forgotten knowledge, riches, and dangers.
Which countries make up these eastern kingdoms?
Simple. The Principality of Masgarth, here, is in the middle. The Snow Alliance lies to the north. The Kingdom of Galavan to the east, and the New Empire to the south. All friendly, more or less, but the peace is fragile.
I think we know enough now. Thank you.
Are we going to work for you?
Not exactly, no. I'll be your contact with the Legacy Council, which you will serve as deputies. That's why we need to go there and get you sworn in.
What can you tell us about this place, the Principality?
We don't exactly have the time. Anyway, the Principality of Masgarth is ruled by Princess Kaiwood Silverflower. We are a wealthy state with fertile lands, and the easiest access to the Badlands through a pass called the Copperhead Road. We're in the capital, Caer Cyflen, which was once part of the ancient Maniculum Empire of the High Elves. Hence the magnificent elvish buildings up there in the High Town. While we don't have a state religion, all of the major faiths of Solasta are represented here, though we tend to favor Einar, the god of valor and fidelity.
As evidenced by your church being a political organization.
We should go, don't you think?
Very well. Come, gather your things. You're late for your swearing in.
Whose fault is that?
So you should. Right. Now, this is our starting city. We have a certain place to go to, and we also got 20 gold for our troubles. Now, while each of our party members has their individual inventory, wealth is shared communally via party wealth up here. In Dungeons & Dragons, there are 4 different types of currency. Gold pieces tend to be default, and most things are measured in gold pieces. Platinum pieces are worth 10 gold and tend to be, you know, things like by wealthy merchants and nobles who are moving expensive products. Silver pieces are worth 1/10 of a gold piece. Adventurers tend to usually go in gold pieces, but in most settings, most peasants, commoners, the working class, tends to deal in silver pieces. Copper pieces are the cheapest, and they're basically 1/100th of a gold piece or 1/10 of a silver piece, and tend to be for buying, you know, the cheapest stuff. There used to be in older editions electrum pieces, which were worth half a gold piece or 5 silver pieces, but that kind of just is like, you already have 4 different currency types. I think 4 is enough. And electrum pieces were sort of the odd man out, and they were multiples of 5, rather not 10. Friendly. I like how they all say that. One mistake I made when initially making this character is, you may notice she is 20 dexterity, meaning she is more of a dexterity-based character. The spear does not do much damage, and her armor is scale mail, meaning she has maximum dex bonus. That would be less than if she wore something like bear clothes or leather armor. So, however, fortunately, we have quite a bit of gold, so if we sell our scale mail and our spear, we can probably buy like a rapier for her. Otherwise, let's see this. Alright. We can learn a scroll. Let's see if there's any other useful stuff or ingredients our characters can have. And reorder, basically it orders everything according to type. Now you may notice sometimes healing potions can be placed in a lower right corner. However, ours was full because we have a component pouch. Spell component pouches, along with certain things like robes and orbs, are basically necessary material things required for casting spells. Not all spells require material components, but as a good amount of them do, it's usually good to have it if you're any kind of spellcaster. First off, there's some nearby shops, so why don't we go and interact with some people?
Let's get you deputized first, shall we?
Maybe I can't buy anything until I do more of the main quest.
Lord Karen said not to bother you yet.
Okay. We can also look at our map. We can fast travel to certain places based on waypoints. Pretty much every map, including even dungeons, have waypoints, which is a good quality of life thing. It's the middle of the day, so we don't need to equip the outer torch.
This place is magnificent.
More people we cannot really interact with at this point in the game.
Nice gardens.
You may see something here. A bench is unique in that you can rest on there and, well, not rest, but you can skip time. Like, it becomes midnight. However, it does not count as a rest, so it's basically just a way to forward time for time-sensitive things. And there's a respawnable bush that every time we go there, it gives us some angry violet stuff, which, if I recall, is a common herbalism ingredient. If someone has a exclamation mark over, it means they're relevant to a quest of some sort.
Look at the size of this council hall.
So this is what they spend our taxes on.
Look! Is that the princess? Wait. Is she leaving?
Apparently so.
Then who will
Appointment
administer
royal
the oath?
business.
There's an oath keeper for that, I think.
You thought it would be the princess?
If she rules the whole principality, who's more important?
The queen, the king.
Lady Keen, the council's oath keeper, is trusted by all.
Lord Karen,
Yes, milady.
are these your new deputies?
They are, milady.
My name is Lyra Keen, Oath Keeper of the Council,
Quiet, everyone.
and I will be administering your vows. Once sworn in,
I
you will
remember
carry the authority
when I
of
was
the
using
council
Sable
wherever
in my
you go.
prior campaign, she
Your
was just
every
like
action
rude
will
and
reflect
got on
upon the
everyone's
council's
nerves.
reputation. Remember that, always. Now, please, raise your right hands. Do you, each and all,
They're not raising their
solemnly
hands.
swear your lives and allegiance to this council, and promise to carry forth our mission to protect our alliance from any who would threaten the common good.
I
swear.
Ah, now they do.
Excellent. Lord Karen will enter your name into the council's register. Thank you for your service.
Congratulations, deputies.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah, that was pretty simple.
Stop wasting time. What's the mission?
Well, a motivated deputy. So, the mission. As I'm sure you know, the council maintains a number of outposts to secure the border between the principality and the marches. One of them is the former imperial fortress, Caer Cyflen. It's held by some 50 troops under the command of Captain Henrik. He sends us weekly status reports, or rather, he used to. We haven't heard a word from him in 3 weeks. Leave immediately for Caer Cyflen and find out if anyone there is still alive. If Captain Henrik or anyone else is still breathing, bring him back. The council wants a first-hand report.
What can you tell us about this Captain Henrik?
A fine officer, more than 15 years in the Principality's army. He inspires trust, loyalty, and courage, hence the decision to post him there, facing danger.
Wait, these marches, they're not in the Badlands, are they?
The marches are a no man's land, between the civilized world and the Badlands. It's outside the chain of mountains that really define the Badlands. We wouldn't send you in there, yet.
It's basically a border fortress.
Right, I guess that's that, eh? It's on to Caer Cyflen.
Now, there are factions in this game, and you can gain favor and disfavor with them. If we gain more favor, it basically means that we can gain more goods and services as well as unique stuff from them. We can now fast travel, but first, everyone here is leveled up. However, we need to do a long rest in order to level up first. So for that, let's just fast travel back. Vroom.
Hello, adventurers. What can I offer you?
We'd like to stay for the night.
Sure. Just walk up to the suite and settle in.
A suite?
It's more like a large bedroom, really. But you know, this is the capital city.
And with that, whenever you stay at an inn, you take a long rest, you regain your stuff, and we can start the level up sequence. Now, 5th edition D&D, much like 3rd edition and some other editions, the maximum level in the game is 20. So every time you level up, things are more significant. So not only have we gained hit points and additional hit die, we also, I think we still have the same spell slots, but let's see what else we gain. Warlocks are interesting. At 2nd level and higher, they gain something known as invocations, which are definitely like at-will abilities. For example, Agonizing Blast, you add your Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast. Armor of Shadows allows you to cast Major at will. Bookbinding Influence grants you Deception and Persuasion. Now, Since we definitely want to have a good charisma, we are going to go Agonizing Blast, since Eldritch Blast is going to be our main thing. Eldritch Sight, detect magic at will, so... Fiendish Vigor is very useful. False Life basically gives you temporary hit points, so... And since you can cast it multiple times, it's basically a way to act as a bulwark. So we're going to Agonizing Blast and Fiendish Vigor. Actually, just to show out, there's also Rebelling Blast. You push people away. Thief of 5 Fates. Cast Bane once using Warlock spell slot. Not as useful, so we're just going to do... Eldritch Spear. Eldritch Spear, if I recall, in the basic tabletop D&D, extended your range from like 120 feet to 300 feet, which is really big, but since a lot of these maps are pretty small, it changed it a bit around. Devil's Sight. You have blind sight of 16 cells, allowing you to perceive enemies and even for invisibility and magical darkness. This is very useful to have if you have the darkness spell, because even creatures with dark vision cannot see in darkness. But if you have Devil's Sight, you can see in it. So it's a really good thing. And you always have the opportunity to unlearn a spell if you are ever not satisfied with your choices. Well, right now we're kind of satisfied, so what should we learn? We already have concentration with another thing, Maledictin. So I want to avoid gaining concentration stuff. Magic Missile doesn't do as much damage as Eldritch Blast, however, it's always guaranteed to hit. So, let's do Longstrider for our Barbarian. Because we want to get the Barbarian into the thick of things as soon as they can. Now, there's much less choices in our Barbarian. They're a simple class. As soon as we hit this, they finish. So their class features is they can do Reckless Attack, where they can gain advantage on melee attack rolls, but attacks against them have advantage, sort of like Rage, but only for melee, for attack accuracy. Dangerous Sense, you have advantage on dexterity saving throws for effects and spells if you're not blinded or unconscious. Let's prepare the spells for our Battle Cleric as a level 2 cleric. We don't have as much, but we gain something called Channel Divinity. It is a special ability you can use between long rests. In our case, we can turn undead, which can basically frighten them, and Channel Divinity, we can damage and stun our targets. Cunning Action. You can take a bonus action on each of your turns in combat, but only for dashing, disengaging, and hiding. There are technically four, but three main actions in this game. There are your regular actions, which are things like attacking. There's bonus actions, which are more for more quicker things, and there's reactions, which I explained earlier during character creation. Movement is not considered an action of its own. You can move up to your movement speed once per turn and use dash as an action in case you want to move faster. There are some things in Dungeons & Dragons that are considered so quick, so simple to do, they don't cost an action, but that's not really something you see here in Crown of the Magister due to, the limitations of coding. Now you may notice that of our characters, our spellcaster has something called Prepare Spells. Unlike warlocks who are sort of set with their spells, characters who prepare spells like clerics and wizards can switch out their spells once per rest, so let's clear them out and see what we have. Bless. Increase your allies' saving throws and attack throws by a bit. You add 1d4 to them for 1 minute. That is a very useful ability. We're going to also learn Detect Magic. A spell can't be cast as a ritual, meaning you can effectively cast it at will, but you need to spend 10 minutes. We will also want to use Cure Wounds and Healing Word, which are basically melee and ranged cure attacks. Beyond that, what else do we want to do? For a concentration thing, protection from evil and good is very well, because certain monster types will have disadvantage on attack rolls, and we will be immune to various things like Charm, Possession, and Frighten, which right now at this point in the game aren't very common, but are useful. Inflict Wounds, you can deal necrotic damage. It deals a massive 3d10, so it's like which is a very good melee thing for a cleric. Now, Guiding Bolt is ranged. It does 46, and creatures targeted by it means first attack against a creature has advantage. So that's going to be very useful with our rogue, because if you have advantage against an enemy, You apply sneak attack. You also apply sneak attack if the enemy is currently occupied in melee combat with an ally. Domain spells are spells we always know due to our domain. Since we have battle, we have magic missile and shield of faith. Shield of faith increases our AC. So overall, I think those are some pretty good choices. Now let's close and let's go out. Our next thing is to basically buy some food for our journey. Yes, there is overland travel, and yes, keeping track of supplies during journeys is an important thing. While we cannot really starve to death in this game, if we are hungry, we will be unable to take rests, which really impact our capabilities. Now we learn about crafting, which I explained earlier. You can craft various items. This is an addition in the video game. Basic 5th edition was much more lacking in rules when it came to crafting stuff, so they basically added this for the game. Blah blah blah, crafting ingredients. You can also learn more crafting recipes by buying certain books. And we have our unique cutscene.
Hello, how may I help you?
What do you sell here?
Mostly potions for heroic adventurers like yourselves.
Aw, how
I
nice.
also have recipes for customers who like to craft their own. And
That person
ingredients
just
too.
clipped through all of us.
Even rare
How
flowers
rude.
from the Badlands. Come back anytime. I'm almost always open.
Given how late it is, I'm not surprised. So, on left here, it shows what we can buy. On the right, it shows what we can sell. Now, we have things set to everything, so we have a scroll, we have a scroll kit, we can also buy potions. Technically, it's always much, much cheaper to craft your own stuff if you can. I don't think we really need a scroll for a magic missile. We don't have a druid or spellbook, so nothing we really need at the moment. Now here's the other store. These aren't the only stores, but they're the major ones, particularly at this point in the game. General store basically sells anything that wouldn't be explicitly magical.
Welcome to Gorim's Emporium.
What do you have to sell?
Everything you'll need for going out there into the Badlands. Food, ropes, torches, and of course armor and weapons. I also have some other stock like remedies and antitoxins. That can come in handy. Ever heard of deep spiders?
Are you Gorim?
That's me, the one and only.
And self-evident. Now for our wares, we want to switch over to her, and you'll see why soon. We are going to want to buy a rapier if we can find one, because it's a finessable weapon. Finesse weapons allow you to add your dexterity rather than strength to your rolls, and since we're a battle cleric, we can equip martial weapons. For lever, light armors. Okay, there's 3 different armor types: light, medium, and heavy. Light armor is obviously the ones that most classes can equip, except for ones like warlocks and wizards. A lever armor adds 11 plus dex bonus. So if you're a very dexterous character like our cleric is, you're going to want something like that. Medium armor is a bit heavier. It usually has a maximum dex bonus, so anything beyond a certain dex amount is kind of not useful. Hide armor is also medium armor. Heavy armor is different in that, hold on, let me see if I can find it. It sets your armor to a default score. You also need a minimum strength score in order to equip it. So yeah, we are going to buy leather armor. Let's conclude. And before we do anything else, let's make sure she has the appropriate stuff equipped now. Alright, So, as you can see, she has a much better armor class. Her rapier has a great chance to hit and a lot of damage. So I'm very happy with those choices. We have an awful lot of saves, so even though we can do it, let's call this the streaming campaign, because that's what it is. I haven't actually beat this game, but I have played an awful lot. Now, these things to your right that are glowing basically indicate spell slots. For some reason it shows it for the Warlock, but not the Wizard. Okay, let's buy some food for the journey.
Welcome to...
I think there's an option to bypass that welcome thing. We're going to buy ration pouches, and we're going to try and give them to our sturdiest character. Right. Alright, we did that. We got enough food. Is there anything else we can buy here? I sort of feel like we should buy a good ranged weapon for our dwarf. On the other hand, we have quite a bit of ranged weapons already, so... Hold on, let me check one thing. Oh, he has a really good dex, so getting him a ranged weapon would be good.
Well...
Sorry. Usually shopping trips in RPG games tend to take a while. Okay. Light crossbow for the dwarf. Good. Now what else do we want to do? Our quest log. Oh, let's speak to her. Oh, cutscene.
Deputies? A word, if you please.
So famous already. I love it.
You were in there too. Are you a member of the council?
I'm Annie Bagmorder, quartermaster of the Scavengers Guild. We don't have a seat in there, but they all know exploring the Badlands without us would be a bad idea. That's why you should stop by our headquarters downtown. You'll need our services, I'm sure.
Is that compulsory?
No, but you'll find our services useful. Everyone does. Did Lord Karen not tell you?
No. He pretty much stuck to giving orders.
Oh, right. Anyway, we offer plenty of help and advice to beginners like you.
We are grown-ups, you know. At least most of us are.
Of course you are. Well, good luck.
Scavengers are an interesting addition and quality of life
Scavengers, eh?
for Solasta.
I never knew if they were legit or not.
The idea is, since you can only carry so much treasure, if you complete a dungeon and basically clear it of threats,
it's not far,
scavengers over a period of time
kill some monsters.
Can
if there's
go into the dungeon,
we can't afford
retrieve all the valuable stuff, and split the profits with you. Of course, it's usually most efficient to take as much valuable stuff back so you can sell it yourselves, but it's basically a quality of life thing so you don't endlessly go back and forth between a dungeon, looting all the bodies, selling, going back, looting the bodies, selling. You also have something called quick shopping, where you can, if you interact with the stall themselves rather than the character, you can just buy stuff without talking to them. So, where's their headquarters? Should be around here somewhere. Okay, there it is. Okay, let's talk to her. She'll probably tell us things I already described, but hey.
Ah, you came.
You piqued our curiosity. So, what exactly do you have to offer?
You don't know?
What kind of help do you have to offer to people like us?
Simple. Now, people like you typically carry out missions for the Council. In the Marches, even in the Badlands. Sometimes far away, like Captain Merrin.
Who's Captain Merrin?
You really must be new. She's one of yours. Senior Deputy of the Council. Anyway, you trek out to some old ruin in the Badlands, kill a bunch of orcs. Well, you're still a bit green, so let's say goblins.
Orcs
Oh,
are a lot more
you're hurting
dangerous
our
in
feelings.
5th edition, like I
Orcs
said
will hurt much more
before. So
than your
that's
feelings,
pretty funny.
Believe me. And
Self-referential.
stop interrupting. It's rude. So let's say you find yourself with a whole load of rusty swords, leather armor, shields, too much for you to lug back here.
Oh, so we're puny as well as green. Thanks so much.
So instead, you brave
Rudest
heroes
halfling ever.
just clear the place of monsters and draw us a nice clean map. Then we take our carts and pick up every piece of junk. We bring it back, we sell it, and we split the profits with you. We move the stuff, you go off to kill more bad things. Everybody wins.
For a percentage, of course.
What? You could never carry it all anyway. Not in your little backpacks.
Well, thank you. I guess that's it for
No,
us.
they do not shell healing potions.
Feel free to visit us anytime. Or drop into any scavenger camp.
Are there others?
Anywhere we can settle. By the way, if you find Captain Henrik, tell him we're still interested.
In what?
In getting our people to Caer Cyflen. The outpost is perfect for us. Close to the Badlands, with plenty of space for our camp.
Right, we'll tell him if we find him.
That would be appreciated. The more you do for us, the more we do for you.
Oh, so this business relationship can get better?
And I hope it will, friend.
I guess we'll see you around then.
Sure. Good luck out there. And don't forget, in the Badlands, always keep your eyes open.
Now these chests right here are glowing. If I recall, some of them are special in certain ways. This automatically gives us an unfinished biography and Dragon's Den advertisement. Let's check those out right now. Read. Memories of a Shadow Tamer. This is an advertisement for what looks to be a tavern, social club, brothel, and a battle chess tournament. I don't think it's in Crown of the Magister, but something funny is in Default 5th Edition, there are proficiencies for gaming sets like Dragon Chess and Free Dragon Ante, so if you want to play like a game within a game, you can have a proficiency for that. This is our party stash, where we stash things that we as a party may not necessarily need, but so far, we're doing pretty well. It's only when we start getting, really heavy stuff. Now, this chest is locked. Wow, a failure even on a 20. Now you know for a fact they're hiding some good stuff in there. If we fail it, I think we can only try again if we level up or if we have the Nox spell. Now, since we don't really have much to do, let's leave town. Before doing anything else, let's make a backup save. Streaming backup. Alrighty. Now usually our entire party needs to be in a zone like this in order to leave an area. You cannot leave people behind. Right, and here is overland travel. You click on a destination, and you basically gather food by foraging or hunting. You can also find crafting ingredients, random encounters, stuff like that. You can choose your travel pace from slow to fast. Fastest pace is dangerous in that it creates more possible negative encounters. The ranger class is very useful because if they're in preferred terrain, more food, less likely to be surprised. There are also certain spells like Goodberry, which basically, if you have a spell like Goodberry, you never have to worry about rations because it automatically generates food every casting. You can also rest and manage things. We're in the city of Caer Cyflen, in the Duchy of Caer Cyflen. While there are other places around, you can't really go wherever you want. You have to go onto places that are marked such. So, we can go here in 2 days if we go fast, or 4 days if we're slow. You know what? I like feeling risky. Let's go fast. You also have travel fatigue, which basically adds up if you don't get, like, proper food or stuff. A group of hostile creatures have surprised us. Well, that's what you get for moving fast, but A. And if you're surprised, surprise can be both on your side or the enemy's side. While we got great results, surprise means the enemies will attack first and we cannot take action. Since we will long rest after a battle, we can basically afford to go all out. We also learn about something called readying in action, where if we don't have anything useful to do, we can make a certain condition where we can act in case someone else acts. It's sort of like triggering a counter of some sort. Alright. Looks like there are 1, 2, 3 bandits. And they are basically spending their actions to just move closer to us, rather than just, you know, using ranged weapons or something. He even had higher ground. If he had a bow or something, it would be like, that'd be so advantageous, but no, they're just being dumb. Much like Dungeons & Dragons, combat in Crown of the Magister is turn-based, and your initiative results means that turn order can be random, as it's based on a 20-sided die. Sable, our rogue, is going, and... what do we want to do? This person is technically in melee with the Highwayman, our ally. So is this one. So, we should be able to do bonus actions. Do you want to dash or disengage? Well, there's that one guy there, so... You know what? Let's disengage. Let's go up here. We're going to try and get high ground if we can. We can switch once per turn between our various things. So do we want to hit him or him? Let's hit that one. And we apply sneak attack because they are in melee range of an ally. Now what do we want to do for our warlock? We have invocation. There are special abilities that can be permanent, at will, or are recharged. This is an active bonus. So is Eldritch Spirit. We didn't choose False Life. Silly me. Since we are in melee range of a person, we actually take disadvantage if we use the ranged attack in melee.
Arcana Muto Viribe.
We will provoke an op attack if we try to move, so let's just end our turn. Let's see what spells we can cast as a bonus action. I think our warlock will need Shield of Faith the most. Now we're concentrating on that, so let's attack the Highwayman and try to get rid of him. And let's pass.
You should have yielded.
We could have used a channel thing to do even more damage, but right now we are good. Let's try and get high ground without provoking an op attack, so let's end our turn now. Right, he's going to provoke an op attack, so let's attack him. Sadly, we missed. And we got hit. Ouch. Okay, it is our Dwarf Stork's turn. We are going, since we have Shield of Faith on our side, we are going to do a reckless attack. And who do we want to attack? We can do him down here, the ones up here. Well, let's try and melee as many people as possible, so let's handle that one down here. We have advantage on our attack, so we hit, but sadly we do not do quite a bit. Let's rage. I should have done that first. Right. They are both in melee. No, wait. Yeah, let's dash up here. Now we should have the higher ground. That should at least do some sort of advantage on attack. Guess not. Let's hit the people who are already injured.
Impressive move, my friend.
And since we're no longer in melee with an enemy, let's head over here. Cast Eldritch Blast at this one.
Arcana Evo Baldur.
Agonizing Blast, wow. Do you want to do Malediction? Let's just save it. And let's pass on that.
Once more we prevail!
Now, these enemies have no concept of morale. They will try and attack and not care about retreating at all. Let's recklessly attack.
I won't miss next time.
Quite a bit of damage even when we got ones on both.
Arcana Evo Malmis.
Really sucking on rolls lately.
Come on, you can do better.
Well, it's nearly dead anyway, so... And we're done. After a night, we can go and take a long rest, but before doing that, we are going to loot the bandits. And their loot is very helpfully shown. Okay, lever, chainmail. Sells for quite a bit. Usually want to avoid stuff like scimitars and cheap things and cheap weapons. Okay, wow. She is now lightly encumbered. Ouch. I don't like being lightly encumbered because encumbrance makes it harder to sneak, harder to move. is reduced by 2. Yeah, I really don't like that. Oh well, may as well give it to Warlock. Alright, we are able to complete a long rest, so we're pretty much all back in tip-top shape. Interrupting travel. You can always interrupt our travel manually via the pause button. Hold on. One moment. Apparently my chat is a bit restricted. Someone let me know that. Chat verification settings I'm looking up because I have someone saying that to me. Okay, this Twitch customer support help thing is not very useful at all. This may actually be outdated information. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to waste any more time, I just...
So, that's Caer Cyflen.
We're almost there. It's just up the hill.
It's a little too quiet, don't you think?
Now we are at the fort we're supposed to investigate, Caer Cyflen. Before going any further, we're going to put the entire party on cautious, so if there are any enemies around, we have a chance at sneaking up on them.
What's that smell?
That's kind of a hint that we have something up ahead. See those goblins up ahead? We can get a surprise off if we can attack them. See, if we click them, they are in surprise round. And what that means is, okay, I've talked about cover before. Half cover, 3/4 can give penalties to attacks. Also talked about utility slots too. We don't really need to know about difficulties. Yeah, we killed that goblin good. And let's move behind there for cover.
You'll need to do better than that.
Since I feel like we're going to be charging right into battle.
Misaye, Abio, Laipe.
Let's move up here and we cannot cast. That's a very embarrassing miss. These are just goblins, so I don't think they have like any deadly area of effect attacks since we're stuck like that. Sometimes it does that little over the shoulder camera shot I like. Yeah, let's move over here. So I have corner from even more enemies. I think a hand axe. Can it be thrown? No, it cannot. Well, we can try it.
You'll die anyway.
Alright, that's good. We have an enemy near us. You know what?
Keep them coming.
I think I readied the wrong thing. I readied a ranged weapon attack and not a cantrip, which should have been Eldritch Blast. Oh well. You win some, you lose some. Yes, they're goblins. They do not have much hit points. Our barbarian's really cheering us along. Let's end our turn here. Let's go up here. And attack.
Nobody has your skills. Bravo!
Okay. We want to dash anywhere. Let's dash up here further. That chainmail's really slowing us down. We cannot hit him.
Arcana Vivo. Malmis. Don't lose hope.
Don't know why it doesn't show the die roll results when you're doing reactions. That's kind of weird. critical hit. That is not good. Plus side, we are... I don't want to go down there and melee him. Pass.
You should have wielded.
What are we gonna do? Just have drag around goblin prisoners of war or something? That'd be funny. Even with that critical hit, we still have like roughly half our HP left, so... In the tabletop 5th edition, a cunning action could also allow you to use an item as a bonus action, which is kind of a shame. Ah, no more movement, oh well. Let's switch to our much better Great Axe.
Wait till the next one.
Alright, that's all of them. We can take a short rest, but should we do so?
Where did those goblins come from?
Some hole in the mountain, I guess.
I do not like having this heavy chainmail, so let's just throw it on the ground. Yeah, the goblins do not really have much in the way of valuable armor equipment. It's mostly just like scimitars and stuff. And short bows. Oh wait. We want that hand axe back. We threw it. Thank you very much. Now, there's actually a bit of a detour. If you see this thing down here, you can actually go down here, and like the dwarf said about a hole in the ground. Okay, so we actually want to cast a spell. We want to cast Cure Wounds on Sable.
Misaye, evil.
Alright, they're now nearly full again. Lair of Filth. This is sort of like an optional encounter.
Sometimes there's simply no choice.
Looks like we're getting low on short
Damn,
bow.
it stinks.
We should be cautious from now on.
Do we have short bow arrows? Doesn't look like it. Let's make a little backup save. Alright. Do we have any spells which can light this place up? Let's all enter into stealth mode and try to... Oh wait. Now we are pretty much full HP. Falling hazards. Stalactites. If we shoot them, we can cause them to drop. There's also these little cages above that can also be used. Alright, we got surprise off. Much like in Skyrim, being a stealth archer is very advantageous. We're going to pass since this is a critical hit. 15 damage, we take him out. Where do we want to go? Let's go behind here. We are in cautious mode, so we're still technically in stealth. Let's end turn. Is there anyone we can hit? Not to target creature. Too far away. Let's try and hit this one. Nope, we missed. Let's try that one. And let's end our turn. Still surprised, which is good for us. Would dashing break stealth? I don't think so. No, it does not. We're still stealthing. We're just moving a bit faster at a longer range. And hit this one. Okay, another critical hit. We're really taking down these goblins. I love it. Let's just ready a melee attack. No longer surprised. See, this is why surprise and stealth are just so great, so important. It's like... So. Let's brighten that one up. And it is really shiny, as you can tell. Let's try and hit this one again. And they are dead. Let's make that one the target of our malediction, and let's move down here. Don't think these goblins even reacted yet. We're just tearing through them. Well, this one is now. Just did like a silly little war cry or something. I think the red indicates when we get perceived and are broken out of stealth. Yes. I like to see that. Now let's move here. Now let's start moving up closer here. Since our barbarian is big, we're going to try and we're just going to double move so we're meleeing the goblin, so it will either try to attack us or try to disengage. Ha! Critical miss. Fortunately in Solasta, critical misses do not cause critical fumbles or anything dumb like that. It's just something that it says oh, you got the absolute worst result. Yes. Okay, that was pretty fruitful. Alright. Alright, everybody. Let's loot the bodies now. We also, looks like we roll survival to see what knowledge we gain about enemies, which is kind of interesting. This was not a mechanic in traditional 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Usually monster knowledge was more ad hoc, like it'd say, oh, you'd roll a Arcana check to know about a golem or a construct, you'd roll religion to know about undead. That's usually how they did things. Once again, not really much stuff of value amongst the goblins here, but we want to try to loot things like this container above. I'm definitely certain there's no other enemies in here, so no need to do cautious. Alright, we got some useful stuff. Scroll of Cure Wounds, we're going to give that to Kiana. Where's the other container? Oh, it's over here. We actually come back to this place in another side quest later, where it gets repopulated by ogres and direwolves. So yeah, there's some places where dungeons you've been to can end up getting repopulated. I don't know if that's a fun little thing or if it's just okay. Pick up. Nope. Nothing of value.
Light will guide us. This does not look good. Looks like this fort has been attacked. The fires are burning, they're still fresh. Even though they said nothing happened in 3 weeks, but in that case, who is here to be burning stuff? Okay, we have a club, simple weapon, don't really need that. Ah. Let's give it up to our strong, sturdy dwarf. I have a bad feeling about this.
What the heck happens
Where's
here?
the garrison? Dead or run away?
Look, that tower. That's insane.
We're not in the Badlands yet, but that's a good introduction.
Tower fell over, but
anyway,
it
we have a
somehow
mission.
hasn't entirely collapsed.
Let's check the fortifications.
Well, it's an even 2 hours right now, and we just came upon a fort that has been recently attacked. Could this have been the work of goblins, or something even more dangerous? Well, there's only one way to find out for the next time we stream on Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Quasar Night out.